I don't know what it is about that first sip of coffee in the morning that just gets you going, but man, I gotta love it. Hey, welcome to Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in and joining us as we talk about firearms policy, politics, culture, international relations. You name it, we're all talking about it here as it relates to firearms. Please remember to like and share this video feed or this podcast so that your friends can join in the conversation as it is happening. Also, please remember to go to fpcgear.com. That's fpcgear.com. There you will find all sorts of cool t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, all different ways to show your support for the Second Amendment. And, you get to look good doing it. Know that every dollar that you spend there goes right back into the fight for our right to keep and bear arms. That's fpcgear.com. When we talk about a right to keep and bear arms, I think sometimes it gets lost on just how rare that right is. I mean, many countries, in fact, as far as I know, most countries, they don't have a fundamental right to keep and bear arms. And even some of those that at one point enumerated that they did don't have it anymore. One such country is Great Britain. One of the things you learn in history class back in the day in world history, you learn that they once had this thing called the English Bill of Rights. 1689, and included in there was the right to possess a weapon for self-defense. Well, as we all know, that right in Great Britain has pretty much gone by the wayside and is about as close to non-existent as it can possibly be. We all know that Great Britain has it is now a place that has been broiled in a lot of controversy lately because of the massive increase in the amount of crime that has taken place there. In fact, one of the biggest issues that they've been dealing with there has been with the issue of knife crimes, right? Well, let's take a look at this real quick. Right here, in terms of knife crimes, one of the things that they've been dealing with is a 21% increase. That's right, a 21% increase in violent crimes relating to knives. Now, this is also a place that, by the way, has banned firearms, right? So you would think that it would be a safe place for people. You wouldn't have to deal with gun crime. Well, guess what? They've now seen a 20% increase in recent years when it comes to gun crime. Now, what does that mean? That means basically that every 12 minutes, someone is basically having to deal with an issue of they're either being shot or they're being stabbed or they're being threatened with a firearm or a knife. Right there in Great Britain, where we're supposed to believe that they are totally safe, right? Where the right to keep and bear arms means they don't need the right to keep and bear arms because, well, the police are going to protect them. Well, what they have found in Great Britain has been a very, very sad truth, and that is that, the right to keep and bear arms is necessary, and it's necessary because, law enforcement can't always be there to protect you. And they found that giving up their right has really put their not just their lives, but their entire culture at risk. Check it out.
They marched in protest, a silent procession of a people grasping for one last chance to resist, shamefully admitting they only have themselves to blame for government policies that threaten their way of life, their security, and the future of democracy in Britain.
We've been very apathetic for years, and now we're paying the price for it.
A future that's in doubt, and the largest peaceful protest in British history to try to change that has got many asking, where were these voices 6 years ago when there was an outright ban on handguns, and pistol shooters were forced to surrender their firearms, confiscated by the government to be destroyed? Liberties that have already been sacrificed for the politicians' false promise of a safer society. Gun bans that, as predicted, have simply backfired.
We've seen about a 40% increase in firearms crime since the ban was introduced. That is not a success in my book.
We need to be armed, we're not safe any longer. Everything is changing.
It's very simple. The authorities have no way of controlling criminals, so they control the law-abiding, because we're an easy target.
And now, some members of Parliament are questioning the government's anti-gun agenda, an agenda that has, without a doubt, failed.
The use of weapons in crime has risen dramatically. And It's very difficult to get government departments to openly accept the fact.
Politicians refusing to face the facts, while the police are forced to every day.
It's totally out of control.
This police officer, who feared he'd lose his job for speaking out, asked to remain anonymous. He said for the first time ever, bobbies are carrying firearms, but they're still outgunned by criminals who can buy whatever they want on the black market.
Now, that sounds eerily familiar. It is something that we say as they pass anti-gun law after anti-gun law here in California or in these United States, is that these laws only affect the law-abiding. Criminals can still get whatever it is that they want. And what they've done is they've disarmed law-abiding citizens. And in Great Britain, by the way, they've gone even further. I mean, you are not allowed to possess anything for defensive use. Even if you have something that is not meant for defensive use, that is not meant to be a weapon, but you use it as a weapon, you can be convicted of a crime. There was one American who actually had used a penknife. They had a penknife, and they were attacked, and they used it to defend themselves, and they were convicted of a crime. They have this spray, right? Like, you're not allowed to use mace or anything like that, or pepper spray, but they have this spray that you can use so that if someone attacks you, you can spray them so that, well, at least police will be able to find them after they've mugged you, killed you, or raped you. But with that, if you spray it in their eyes, then it's considered a weapon, and you can then be convicted of a crime. One guy that they spoke of, I think his name was Tony Allen. This is a guy who did nothing more than defend himself from a couple of individuals broke into his house. He shot two of them. He shot them both. One lived, one died. He got convicted of murder. Now, eventually, because of the public outcry, they wound up turning it down, or they wound up decreasing it to manslaughter. But the thing is, he's in jail, and the guy who broke into his house and lived, he got 3 years and was out after 18 months. The guy who broke into, and by the way, is threatening to sue him, is going to sue him and is going to use government money to sue him. 18 months, right? And the guy who was doing nothing more than defending his home and his property is still in jail. Well, okay, let me clarify. I need to clarify. So this story that was run, this was a 2013 story. So it was like 5 years ago. So I don't know if he's still in jail. But the point was that at the telling of this story, he was still in jail and the other guy had gotten out. How insane is that? Let me tell you how insane it is. It's so insane that we are headed that exact same direction. I know people don't want to believe it, but it's the way at least places like California seem to be going. That's the way places like New York seem to be going, and Alaska. But here's the thing, and then there are those, not Alaska. Why did I say Alaska? Not Alaska, but a number of other states, we'll say. But the thing I guess that I'm trying to get you guys to see here is that I know a lot of folks think, well, I live in Oklahoma, or I've moved to Nebraska, or I've moved to Arizona, and you think this stuff can't happen there. What I'm trying to tell you is that a lot of people are leaving California, and they're not just leaving California because California's too liberal or too anti-gun. Many of them are leaving California because it's too expensive. For the same reason people are leaving San Francisco and going to other more rural parts of California, they're also leaving California and going to other states. And they're taking their anti-gun politics with them. And so when they get there, they're going to get their good job, they're going to move into their nice neighborhood, and then they're going to say, we need to ban guns here. And their numbers are going to increase where you are. So it's important that we fight the fight wherever the fight is, right? And I'll tell you, the folks right there in Great Britain, they believe the same thing, and they have a message for us here in the United States.
Their message to gun owners in America is simple. It will happen to you if you let it.
Jolly well could, and they ought to realise that. If they saw what we're seeing in this country, then they'll fight for it.
But if you don't do anything, you will lose your liberties, and make the effort. Don't be apathetic. Get out there and fight.
Learn from our experience and don't give an inch. Your constitution matters, your freedom matters.
The Pericles said it way before me. Freedom is only for those who have the guts to defend it.
So the question is, do you have the guts to defend it, wherever the fight may be? If you do, then you need to help us out. You need to be a part of the Firearms Policy Coalition. Help us as we fight for your constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Well, that's going to be it for today's Coffee with Craig. We very much appreciate you guys tuning in. I appreciate you guys liking and sharing these videos, telling your friends about the Firearms Policy Coalition. We are the home in the fight for civil rights. Got to use them or you're going to lose them. You guys take care.
If you like our videos, follow, subscribe, like, and share.